All right, my name is Noah Quintero. I am a graduate student at the University of San Francisco. Today, I have the privilege of interviewing Mr. Brock Hendricks, who is the premium sales manager for Staples Center.
Hi, how you doing, Noah? Good to talk to you.
Yep, how you doing?
All is good. We're in the off season, a little bit of a slow time for now, but yeah, it's weird. We all season you're just like slamming events, Lakers, Clippers, Kings, Sparks, concerts, and every season all you want is the off season, and then the off season gets here and you miss your teams. So that's where we're at.
All right, let's go ahead and jump right into the interview. Mr. Hendricks, would you provide a brief summary of your current role and primary responsibilities?
Sure. So I am in a sales role at Staples Center and AEG. So I am working for the Staples Center Premium Seating Department. We are a joint venture between the LA Lakers, Clippers, Kings, and Sparks, all the concerts and special events. So my job is outbound sales, going out into the Los Angeles market, trying to find LA or Southern California based businesses and get them to place a bid on a suite or a premium product. And essentially, if a company puts a bid on a suite, I get to negotiate the deal, and that's my job in a nutshell, is premium sales out into the city of Los Angeles, almost entirely to businesses.
So does it kind of turn into almost like a little bidding war, or has it ever?
That's what we try to do. Yeah,
Oh,
without giving away the secret sauce. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, a lot of the job is the negotiation of the sales process, right? So all it takes is in negotiation, you just want someone to put the number down first.
yeah.
So in theory, we put a number out there. This is what we think the market value is. And often companies will counter, right? So sometimes it does. Sometimes you're trying to get a couple companies to put the same bid on the same suite. But yeah, it's it's a sales job with some negotiation type of I don't know how you describe it, negotiation elements.
Gotcha. All right. We'll move on to the next question, which is what key lessons have you learned from working in the sports industry?
Yeah, I think you pick up a lot in sports because it's this just competitive industry, right? So everything you do in sports is almost underneath a microscope because it's such a competitive industry. You know that if you don't perform, if you don't come in and bring your all every day, that's enough that there are 3,000 people behind you that would apply for the job you have now. So this idea of constant professionalism you will always hear in the sports industry, right? You have to be at your best a lot, and some of that just comes with learning how to be a world-class professional. I think that sometimes in the sports industry, the outside world looks at sports sales executives very differently, right? There's almost this pendulum where some people look at you like your job is extremely cool. You must be the coolest. You must have this insane professional skill set to even have this job. And that's how we feel about it. But then there's also this group of the market, right, where you might step into a CEO's office and he assumes that you are in sports because you can't do a difficult job, because you don't have the skills necessary to do what I would call a real job, right?
Yeah.
You kind of have to make sure that you lean closer to the other side. Constant professionalism is the key. And this is one of those industries where if that slips, you could be gone very quickly. Like if you lack professionalism, you won't make it very far, or it's one of those things where as soon as you lose it, it's enough to possibly kick you out, right? One mistake of not being the most professional, astounding person you can be. Because think about my job. If I were to go out and I get arrested for something, or I exhibit bad behavior, or I lose that lack of professionalism in whatever extreme example you want to say, it's not just looking bad upon me, Brock Hendricks, an individual. It looks very poorly upon AEG, the Staples Center, the LA Lakers, the Clippers, the Kings, all of these super prestigious brands. So that is a responsibility you carry working in the industry. The biggest lesson I think I ever learned here is just stay humble and stay hungry. Those are two attributes that you can use forever in any setting that will really help you stand apart here, though. I mean, no matter what job you're doing, you understand that no one's above the job. No one's above the task and the mission, right? No one likes a cocky salesperson.
Yeah.
So if you can stay humble and centered, I think the world comes around in your favor a lot more. And you've got to be hungry. You have got to be ready to put the foot on the gas for whatever you're doing every day. And I'm really lucky that I get to do it for teams that I love, but you have to be hungry and ambitious and passionate about what you're doing. Do you wake up every day with a fire? And if you don't, find something that you do that for.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I see what you're saying. Like, unless you're like LeBron James or Kawhi Leonard, you can't really lack that professionalism, like you said, because
even they do, right? So think about it. I go back to the Mamba mentality all the time. And maybe that's just a product of being inside of Staples Center, the house that you feel like Kobe built, right?
Yeah.
But Mamba mentality is the perfect example of talent meeting ambition and hunger, right? There are, I bet you, a ton of really talented NBA players that never made anything of themselves. And I bet you there are less talented people in the NBA now because they had that hunger, because they had the drive and the ambition. So the Mamba mentality is this idea of you have both and you have a chance to make them coexist and co-manage each other. I have this talent. If I put the work ethic in, I will go from being good to being great. So I'll challenge you to that, even a LeBron James, a Kobe Bryant, or whoever, even they don't get to take the foot off the pedal. So if they're not doing it, you definitely can't be doing
it. Yeah, exactly. All right, we'll move on to the next question, which is, what are 1 or 2 highlights and or accomplishments from your sports career?
Yeah, I think for me, the thing that stands out is being a part of the 2020 champion Lakers. That was just the coolest experience of my lifetime, and less to do with, a professional accomplishment. I didn't produce a single win, right, for that team. But it's the idea of being a part of this big mission. And also for that, COVID was really tough on the sports industry. So to be able to escape through your team, through your employer, and watch them go all the way was exceptionally, it was a once in a lifetime thing. It's one of those pieces of the industry that stands out as, this is why you do what you do, because you just don't get this anywhere else. So that's the coolest, arguably the coolest thing that will ever happen to me in my entire life. Is winning a championship ring with the Lakers. As far as like a statistical one, I mean, there was 2 seasons ago, I sold the second most expensive suite at Staples Center. And I think why that's cool to me is not necessarily the number, but it's something that, one day when I'm no longer here at this building, that deal will outlive me. So one day I'll go off and do whatever's next. I don't know when that day will be. I hope it's no time soon, but one day it's coming, right? Father Time's coming for all of us. I will always forever have that. I'll forever be able to say I contributed this to this building. And that's just one of the coolest things I think I'll ever be able to say.
All right. Well, hopefully you get to see the Lakers win another championship. Unfortunately, injuries derailed this year, but next year.
Tough one. And that's also another lesson I learned in sports, is why you can't sell wins and losses. You have to sell, when you're selling sports, partnerships, tickets, suites, whatever it may be, you have to sell why this makes sense for that person or that business. Because if you sell wins and losses, you're setting yourself up for potential failure. Only one team wins it all.
Yeah.
Our odds of you being that one are not always very good. So you got to be able to show diversity and really sell yourself and your product well.
All right, makes sense. And the last question I have for you is, what advice would you offer students and young professionals seeking a career in sports?
Mentorship is huge, right? I don't think anyone in the history of the world has ever gotten to where they're going alone, right? When you get to the top of the pinnacle, when you get to be a president of an organization, you can't get there without looking back and seeing all the people that helped you along the way. That will be a universal theme throughout your life. So find people, perspectives, stories from working in sports that you like and gravitate towards those. Learn from them, right? I generally think the sports industry is a super helpful place. I think we all remember being in the shoes where we didn't have the jobs we have now and thinking, wow, wouldn't it be cool if we could get there? So we all remember ourselves at day one. So we're very willing and able to help those people in day one get to the next step, right? Also, this is a selfish one for me. I have a podcast called Hot Coffee, Cold Beer, literally for this, like to help you, prepare you for life in sports or give you career advice and guidance. So you get to hear about presidents of clubs and, top contributors and how they grew their careers. So even if you're not listening to a podcast, find one person that you trust their opinion and stay close and build that relationship, because that could be enough. Once you get in, you're going to need that. You're going to need somebody to help show you the way. So I think if you ask for help, help will find you.
All right, that's great advice, and I went ahead and wrote down your podcast name.
Yeah, Coffee Cold Beer. Give it a listen and beat it up on Apple rankings. Go for it.
All right, Mr. Hendricks, thank you so much for taking the time out to speak with me today. I'm very appreciative of your time. I think that's all I have to ask in the interview, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up.
Sounds good.